One day it all makes sense. That's what my elders said.
This music we call jazz took its original shape in the late 19th century and is widely associated with the Congo Square in New Orleans, Louisiana. History tells us that enslaved people would gather at the square and mix together sounds of West African and Caribbean music, church hymns, field chants, brass instruments. Et voila, jazz was born.
I've been sold lies.
But since jazz rose to fame, the genre has birthed many more children.
And never given me nothing. Move, move, move. I'm just trying to say something. Hey.
Soul, ragtime, the blues, the list goes on, which begs the question, today, what is jazz? And who gets to call themselves a jazz musician?
Authentic jazz is in the blood, is in the roots.
The foreign sounds, the sounds of the Caribbean, the Latin jazz influences, the African rhythms.
And it's influenced anyone that makes music today. Jazz is in hip-hop, jazz is in R&B, jazz is in funk. It's about pushing forward, it's about honoring the evolution of the art form or of any art form, but you have room for everybody.
From Vermont Public, this is Homegoings. I'm Myra Flynn. Today on the show, a conversation with 3 musicians about navigating today's world of jazz on their own terms.
Get your hands ready to give a round of applause for Melanie Charles, Nicole, Lady Wray, and Jazz Festival curator Addie Oasis.
We're a proud member of the NPR network. Welcome home.
Welcome to Homegoings. Thanks so much for being a part of this, ladies. I feel so lucky. You all are here for the Burlington Discover Jazz Festival, but I get to make a show with you all just because you're here at this one place at the same time. This show was kind of brought to me as we can have a conversation about Black women in jazz. But I'm kind of what does that mean? What does jazz mean? So I did a little research on all y'all. I mean, you've been in this game, in the hip-hop game, ODB, Missy Elliott, Rockefeller Records, right? Since 1998.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And then came out with your own stuff, right?
Yes.
And totally not synonymous with the word jazz,
right.
I would say.
Yeah,
whereas
right.
Melanie, for instance, I'm you are, a jazz laureate of sorts. You've gone to school for it, and I do know, I was a classical musician, that the people who are in the classical world and the people who are in the jazz world have a very staunch idea sometimes of what jazz is. And then, Addie, you are a hybrid of all these different beautiful sounds, I'd say, from rock to funk to soul. And yet you've played the Montreux Jazz Festival, which is one of the biggest jazz festivals in the world. So I think I want to start with what is jazz? And how do we all touch it or not touch it, and what's it turning into?
Well, right now in jazz, there's this kind of controversy where a lot of jazz musicians are rejecting the term jazz, and they're interested in using the term BAM, which is short for Black American Music, which is complicated because during the evolution of jazz music, it is all of the foreign sounds, the sounds of the Caribbean, the Latin jazz influences, the African rhythms is what makes jazz jazz. But what has evolved the sound has been on American soil, so I understand the idea. And it also opens up the sound. I think some people are trying to develop the sound and incorporate technology. Herbie Hancock was a jazz musician that was all about pushing the sound forward and incorporating technology. Miles Davis. These people are considered classic jazz musicians, but within that classicness of them, they were always on to what's next. And so it gets complicated because the musicians are trying to find things, but the people who make decisions want to hold on to a certain era of the music. So it's a little complicated, but I think that's when really juicy things happen.
What is with wanting to hold on to it so fiercely and so tightly? Why? Who is it? Is BAM displacing anyone?
No, BAM is trying to say we're more than this jazz thing. But I believe that jazz is universal. It's global. And I think that once we try to change the name of this thing, we're cutting off certain people.
Yeah. Amen. So I think, and it sounds like as inclusive as we want to be. Addie, curious what jazz means for you. I mean, especially curating a jazz festival and, what's changing about it or what isn't.
I mean, the way I look at it is jazz is like our great-grandmother, and then we're all our children of it, and it's influenced anyone that makes music today that has chords, right? It's evolved with the time, and jazz is in hip-hop. Hip-hop was sampling jazz so much. Jazz is in R&B, jazz is in funk, jazz is in disco. Whenever you have horns, a horn line that's playing something in time is jazz to me. So it is present in so many forms of music today. It's about pushing forward. It's about honoring the evolution of the art form, or of any art form, bringing in technology, bringing in different types of instrumentations. But, you have room for everybody.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, just in any change, right? To both push forward while also preserve.
That's right.
That's a really hard balance. I feel like you end up pissing someone off along the way.
But that's how you know you're doing something right.
That's right. Amen.
Because remember, when John Coltrane, when John Coltrane was entering into his free jazz, spiritual jazz stuff, people were walking out of his shows. Now we're listening back to those records oh my gosh, this was so progressive. But
same with Miles Davis' later work. People were
yeah, when he was rapping.
Yeah, he was rapping. If somebody's pissed off, then something is happening.
Yeah.
Change comes from discomfort. You have to get through discomfort to change something. Otherwise, you spend the day on the couch watching TV, right?
Amen. Nicole, I'm so curious to hear from you. Speaking of rap artists
Wow.
and ODB and the people that you
Oh
work
my
with.
goodness, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I'm definitely gonna piggyback off of Addie, because I didn't go to school for jazz, and like you said, I did come from the hip hop world, like Missy Elliott. Like I was talking backstage, I'm a big fan of Lauryn Hill, and to see her, the rap and the R&B and the blues and the jazz and all of that. But to piggyback off of you, it's definitely our ancestors, and it's in the blood, it's in the roots. You know what I mean? So it definitely has evolved. I feel like I'm the new and in between mix and all of that and above, but I will give it back to the ancestors. It's in our blood, it's rooted and grounded.
You, I think, have the OG career of the careers up here. How long have you been making music?
I would say it's 20 plus years.
Yeah.
20 plus years in the business. And I started with Missy Elliott and Timberland back in Virginia. That's where I was raised. I went from Missy Elliott to a hip hop label, Rockefeller Records.
Can't Stop, Won't Stop.
Can't Stop, Won't Stop, with all male record label. It was Jay-Z. I think it was Philly Boys. It was Beanie Siegel. It was nothing but guys. I just felt like the only female there trying to push my way. I was working hard. They used to call me a lab rat because I was always in the studio writing. I was young, but I had a lot of ideas. I got started in the music industry. I was 16, about to turn 17. And Missy Elliott, she had a record label. She was about to embark on her career, and she took little old me with her. And my mom was like, make sure you watch her and watch her good, because she's a kid, and I want to make sure that she's going to be protected, which I will say she did back off a lot of people off of me, in the industry, being a young black girl, getting started, naive, young.
The entertainment industry definitely fetishizes youth, and I was very protected coming up when I was younger. My mom was in every rehearsal, every studio session with me. So in that regard, I'm grateful I was protected in that way. However, 3 years ago, I was signed to a major jazz label, and once I released my album, it was called Y'all Don't Really Care About Black Women.
That was the name of it?
Yes.
Talk about, yes.
And I kind of built my own coffin by naming the album that, but it's okay. Well, it's not okay, but they signed on a younger vocalist, an incredible vocalist that had just taken the world by storm. And I quickly realized that I was getting aged out, and they dropped me and invested all of their money on this newer, younger artist. And up till that point, I never was really, I'm 36 years old. I ain't that old, but I have already felt the feeling of you're not that fresh new thing anymore. And that's a really hard thing to encounter and to pick up again and continue in this industry.
I had the same situation happen in my career with the Missy Elliott situation. I feel like she was taking on a lot of other artists. At the time, she was a big name and she couldn't juggle all the artists. I felt like she needed a team to juggle all the artists that she was working with, and I kind of got pushed behind. And because I got pushed behind, I just start feeling bad for myself. And I was hearing all these things that you're black, you're short, you're not like a star. They're looking for high yellow, light skinned white girls, and that's what I was.
Colorism is real.
Those are the things that I was hearing as a young black girl coming into the industry. That I was not a star. I wasn't the color that I needed to be. My voice wasn't big enough.
And look at you today. And I just want to give you a little hug, because I feel what you just said, and I feel like you deserve a round of warm applause and a big hug, because that was difficult what you went through, and it's not fair, and it makes me emotional, because she's so talented, but you're here telling this story, and then you went through what she went through, and look at you today. And that's where you're gonna be, girl. Don't give up. I was in a band for a long time, and I was frustrated in the studio because they weren't letting me write. And it goes back to even earlier, when I was 18, 19, I moved to New York at 19 years old, and I wanted to write my songs, and I had that experience of the older producer who noticed me, and I was gonna be a star, he was gonna get me signed. I thought I was gonna get signed maybe 4 times. I got EPs recorded by this so-and-so big producers, I don't need to say names, and either they dropped me and disappeared, or they gave me, I remember being 20 and handed a contract, and English is my 3rd language, and I looked at that contract myself, I was like, are you kidding me? You own my likeness for a lifetime? Are you kidding me? People are good at making you feel like you're not good enough. And it can be or not intentional, but for a long time, I thought I was not good enough as a writer. I thought I wasn't good enough as a singer or as a bass player. And I wasted so much time thinking that my ideas were not good enough, because I was in the studio with some dudes that were so controlling and kept saying that my ideas were not good enough, or yeah, maybe not. And you know what? I had to look in the mirror so many times, and after going home and thought I guess I'm not a good writer. I guess I don't know what I'm doing. I guess my voice is not good enough. That's insane. One day I realized, I was wait, I can do it myself. And that's when everything changed for me. Hey, I'm on tour like redefining, move, and I'll take the pilot seat. Giving me nothing, move. I'm just trying to say something. I'm tired to try. No denying, you don't have to love me. You're living out your lives. You rather fantasize. Let's stop pretending that you don't really need me. Ooh. Grant a violent move, and I'll take the pilot seat. You and never giving me nothing. Ooh. I'm just trying to say something. Give me my position. Why your legs so wide in the seat? Why you love taking space from me? Does it boost your self-esteem? They say to me, you need to hand over all your keys. I'm done with people pleasing. I'm learning to stand my needs. Like Greta Violet, move, and I'll take the pilot seat. You We cooking, we make your better. We holding, we keep it together. You know now it's our turn. Thank you. Thanks, James. Thank you so much.
One of the things we've been talking about as a collective and also on Homegoings is just how much the consumer knows, truly, about what goes on behind the making of music today and how it used to operate and how it operates now.
People used to consume music by buying CDs, right? So you used to go buy an album and it was about, what, $15, $15.99? Think about that. When you sold 1 million, that's a lot of money, right? How much have you been spending on music lately? Not to make you feel bad, but let's just think for 1 second. How much have you been spending to consume music? But don't you consume even more music, and don't you have an even more wide range of music that you can listen to all day long? And how much do we spend? $10 a month. But we're still making the music. And how do we get paid? No one knows. I don't know either.
Crickets.
Crickets.
What was the last amount from Spotify? What did that check look like?
So basically, and I would have to get fact checked here, but the last I checked, Spotify pays 0.004 per stream. So when you have 1 million streams, that generates about $4,000. $4,000, half of it goes to your label, and then the rest, so you only take 50% if you have a deal, a label deal. And then that 50%, and then split between all the people who write. So for about 1 million streams, I guess you write your music, I write my music, but we don't write it all by ourselves. So we get about maybe $800, maybe.
I have a lot of peers that went to music school that are like driving Uber. Everyone's suffering. The whole, like, we're in a recession, ain't no money, period.
There is money. They're just not giving it to us.
Ooh.
This is former slavery too.
There is money. Those DSPs, they do make money. Actually, the music industry is making more money today than it ever did before because more music is being released. There's so much, there hasn't been that much music being released on a daily basis ever before. So there is the money, they're just not giving it to us. Ticketmaster needs to come down and they need to stop taking such a giant percentage from our ticket sales. Do you know, I calculated about how much I sold out a venue in Paris that I was dreaming of playing. It was 1,400 people. I looked at the audience and I was like, wow, I'm at loss on this tour. A full theater. I personally walk out with about 6% of the price of a ticket. I understand everybody needs to get paid, but why is the artist the person that gets paid the least?
Get nothing.
Besides policy, right, which obviously needs to change, and it sounds like there needs to be some laws in place so that this can no longer, we can no longer be taken advantage of in these ways. How can people who directly support you best support you?
I meet a lot of people that have just discovered my music because they've told a friend or a cousin or someone. I think just word of mouth and just getting out there, because a lot of people have been asking for this one particular album that I worked on many years ago. It's called Electric Blue. And I keep telling them, you guys need to reach out to Missy Elliott, not me. So,
because I don't own that.
I don't own the music. So if you're reaching out to me in my DMs, reach out to her in her DMs and spread the word. If it's something that you want, spread the word. I mean, so many platforms. It's so easy now. Back in the day, it wasn't easy to just go into someone's DM and ask a question. If you want to respond, you can respond. If you don't, so you just got to use your own vocals.
But how does spreading the word translate to money in your pockets?
So there are specific things you can do. Buying the merch. So going to the shows, because touring is really our best chance of income. Going to the shows is huge for us. And then when you go to the shows, if you happen, because everybody's struggling, not just us, let's be real. If you do happen to have an extra $30, hop on the merch table and buy a t-shirt or a vinyl. That makes a big difference for us. I don't think DSPs should go. They do a lot for us to be able to get rid of the middlemen, but the way that the money, the funds are redistributed should be rethought and reorganized. You all stream certain different types of artists, but your money, your $10 is distributed the same for everybody that consumes it. So if I stream the hell out of your music, my $10, like a percentage of it should go to you instead of going to Taylor Swift or Beyonce. The top still gets a bigger percentage.
Right. And don't forget we have labels, which you were speaking about too, like that then come in and take a percentage of that. So multiple art forms have been beat up in this same way, right? So TV and film got Netflixed, photography got Instagrammed. But music was like the first. I mean, we start with like Napster, we start with all these things. And what I can't get past is how much in this world, and especially in this country, from the tourism board, from our taxes advantages, how much we still value and depend on and ask for music to be made. But somehow we became the guinea pig for it being free. Why do you think music?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I do know you're right. We all need music. It's part of everything that we do. Family engagements, church, TV, sure. The Napster thing really kind of messed us all up, and it does trickle down to all different forms of art, I believe. Like even in like musical theater or dance, now people are posting TikToks dancing because there are very few opportunities for people to dance and choreograph and do their thing. I'd like to study the history and evolution of like these things. That's why I reference a lot of the OGs, because I'm like, how did they get through this? What happened there? I think a lot about patronage, like earlier, like medieval days, and how like the churches and were the ones that were funding the survival of musicians. And I think that we have to look at it in different ways. Like, how are we going to survive? At the end of the day, I don't want to put pressure on my music to survive. That's not fair. And that's why you see a lot of musicians just quit and disappear and just like throw their hands up and are like, I'm just going to go do something else. Money back. I've been sold a lie. Did what I was told and never question why. They said learning in all keys, transcribed, don't miss a beat. One day it all makes sense. That's what my elders said. But for what? For who? No one cares. Sing the blues all the time, all the tears. Jazz school for sing the blues all the time, all the tears. Jazz school. I want my money back. I've been sold a lie. Who cares if I can swing or if I can keep time? All the accolades, they barely pay my way. Now the times have changed. The shed was all in vain. And for what? For who? No one cares. Sing the blues all the time, all the tears. Jazz I have to apologize. I feel like I've been so skeptical and dark during this panel, but that's just where I am in this moment in my life as an artist.
Don't apologize.
Well, sure, thank you. Basically, this song is really, I'm lamenting of all the crap that has come out of believing that if I went to jazz school, if I was a good student, that I would live a comfortable, successful life.
You just never know what somebody is going through. So just, it's important to always have grace and just, you applaud people for showing up.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you want to continue to be a part of the Homegoings family, stay in touch at homegoings.co and subscribe to the Homegoings podcast wherever you listen. Take good care.